Your first step, shoot a deer. That's number one. Little step is the most important. Shoot a deer. And then we do all of our self butchering. So this is pretty much all of our grind meat. And all we did was we packed it into 1 gallon bags and then we froze it. Because instead of doing each deer individually, we were just going to grind all of our deer together. But we still only ended up with the 1 deer. So now we're just grinding up the 1 deer. But pretty much what happens, you freeze it, gets rock hard. And your first step then is once you're ready to start grinding, is I ended up pulling all these gallon bags out last night. So we're sitting at about 20 hours it's been sitting out. What you want is you want it to become semi-thawed but still frozen. So like this center section here, good sharp knife, helps good. Like this is still all frozen. You want your meat still kind of hard. I mean, yeah, some parts are thawed out and it'll end up getting refroze. It'll be fine. Yeah, it bled out a little bit, but there's still plenty of flavor there. And now you're kind of just doing your final clean. Anytime I see a hair or something, I'm picking it out. But you're cutting it up. It's just into smaller chunks, and that's going to just be based off of the grinder that you have. Myself, at this point, I am just running off a KitchenAid mixer. I got the grinder attachment. It was like $20 versus buying an industrial grinder that's like 1/3 horse, 1/2 horse, 3/4 horse. I don't know. They just they got a whole bunch of different sizes. And it's just coming down to is you need whatever chunk of meat that fits down your little tube. You want it to be able to slide down in that. So that's what you kind of cut your chunks into. So yeah, that's kind of your first few basic steps. Big investment tool is your food grade tubs. I mean, I find that to be most, because if I was doing this into just stainless steel bowls or something like that, I wouldn't be able to fit that much grind in there, because that was 1 gallon bag there is what's in that tub. Pretty much chunked up all my meat here. And like I said, I'm just using the KitchenAid attachment. Big tip for you guys, if you're looking for a cheap meat grinder, Mother's Day is coming up, so maybe you buy your mom friend here a KitchenAid mixer and you can get yourself a meat grinder at the same time.
Your mom friend.
Your baby mom, whatever. Your baby girlfriend, I don't care. Maybe she doesn't want you dropping.
Get the woman in your life.
Yeah, the woman in your life, whatever. Birthday present, whatever. Go with it.
Back on topic.
Yeah. Get her a KitchenAid. You get yourself a meat grinder for a little cheaper. Because she'll probably yell at you if you buy a $300 meat grinder. Unless you're Eric, then just do whatever you want. But I found about 2 or 4 on the KitchenAid. That's the right speed. But pretty much just pushing meat down a tube. You know, and this might be easier to, some guys might not understand what I say, but let the machine tell you the pace. You know, if it sounds like it's bogging down, then slow down. You know, if it's taking it, keep giving it to it. One of those things, you kind of just got to keep changing your pace as it goes. Certain pieces of meat, if you got a piece of meat that's got some silver skin on it, or some gristle, it's going to grind a little harder. Thawed meat versus frozen meat's going to grind different. But that's all you're doing at this point, is you're just going to keep feeding in. And I did experiment a little bit. This mixer, it does come with a, I don't even know what you call that, but a fine plate and a coarse plate. I tried the fine plate, and I just found that it seemed like it came out more as mush versus like a burger consistency. So mine, I just run one pass on the coarse plate, and we haven't had a problem with that. It kind of seems like that's just, like if you'd go to the supermarket and buy a ground chuck, that's kind of the consistency of the meat. Alright guys, so we got all the meat ground up. We got 2 of these tubs. And now we are, oh really?
Dale's helping, folks. We got Dale helping.
So now I do mine in 1 pound packages. I got a little scale here. I am a shrink wrap and freezer paper guy. They do make little plastic tubes that you can actually get attachment to whatever grinder you have, and it'll put the meat right into. I don't think this one's gonna work. So they make tubes that you can inject it right into the tube. The tube has a line on it, and it's an estimation of 1 pound. That's the way to go. And then either you can stuff the sleeve back into the meat, or you can tape it. But I do.
You have your kid help?
Yeah. I do shrink wrap. The best shrink wrap I found is the freeze tight. It's a little more expensive, but to me it feels thicker. Plus it's got the slider cutter, which makes it easier when it comes to the wrapping. We're going to kind of just fold it over, and the key is you just want to eliminate as much air as possible. Now I have done food saver bags. They work good, but as most guys know, you have to be very gentle not to break the seal. Okay there. Yeah, that's good. And I've noticed that with the food saver, now depending on your make and model, but mine could never keep up with the demand at the rate that we're doing. And it ended up overheating and shutting down. So then you just got downtime. So that's kind of why I just like the shrink wrap and the freezer paper. Because as long as you get a good crew going, you can wrap as fast as your slowest guy. So there you go. Now I got 1 pound of deer burger there. So get out there, shoot your deer, butcher yourself, grind your own meat. This would be the time too if you're going to add beef fat or pork fat. You'd have to calculate exactly. I think most guys do like 10% per weight. If you're going to do that, me and Eric, we don't add any kind of fat to it. We just have the deer fat that's in there, and that's enough for us. But some guys like a little extra, gets rid of the gaminess that people say. But this would be the time to figure that out and add it. Just mix it in your meat equally. But here we go. Okay, so one thing I forgot that we gotta add in, when you're thawing your meat out, you're going to take your grinder parts, whether you have a standalone grinder or you're doing the attachment to the KitchenAid like I did. You want to take all your parts out and actually put them in the freezer. So that'd be like the hopper, your auger, your, the cutter blade, and then your actual coarse grind blade, your nut, just any part that you can take off, put that in the freezer. You want everything as cold as possible because things are going to heat up over time. And if your parts and your grinder itself get too hot, what's going to happen is you're going to start breaking down the fat in the meat, and that's going to kind of start cooking it. And if you start freezing it when it's partially cooked, you're going to, I think it starts to spoil quicker in the freezer. So you just want to keep everything as cold as possible as you're doing this process so your meat lasts longer in the freezer.